morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm well. Just
That's good.
yeah, yeah.
What's that noise behind you?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's some background. That would
Okay,
can you hear me?
because it's louder than your voice. Yeah, so now I can't even hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Well, now, yeah, you were like coming in and out of it.
Oh wow. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
You can't hear the static?
No, I can't.
See if if your audience can hear it. If they can't hear it, well, it's all good. I can figure out what you're trying to say. Yeah, you see, it sounds like a thunderstorm.
Hey, copy Helio. Kawo. That's Shango.
Oh, you're greeting your folks?
No, it's like a thunderstorm. That's Shango is.
Oh,
Um,
and you still, can you turn up your volume a bit? I'm not trying to be difficult.
well, Simone,
But the volume is a bit.
uh,
It,
I have it as loud as I can get it.
that sounds better.
Okay, but does it still sound like a thunderstorm?
Sounds like it's raining outside. But continue. We'll figure it out.
Okay, okay. Well, hopefully it's not too bad. Uh, I've been looking forward to this. I really,
Really?
yeah, I've been looking forward. I mean, I am here with the great Simone, author. So most definitely, I've been looking forward to it because this is the tables have turned. I'm used
Hmm.
to interviewing you, not me interviewing you. So the tables are most definitely.
Yeah, I've done that twice.
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess this was your way of getting me back because I you had pushed me to agree to a interview this month. And so does this count for me too?
Yeah, you're not easy, but you are who you are.
Okay. Well, I mean, but maybe we can work something out before the end of the month. But maybe you already got everybody maybe you have your weekend.
I have actually the day that we're supposed to start the conversation about Orisha,
Uh-huh.
which is January 31st. That's still open.
Okay. Okay.
I'm booked solid for the rest of the month and into February. I'm booked actually till February 14th.
Okay. Okay. So,
Right.
so
But the 31st is still open, but I don't know, you know how it is.
yes, we do. So,
You know your Orishas and ancestors, they have other plans and they just towing line.
okay. Well, as I said before, I'm here with the great Simone. For those who follow me on Instagram, who doesn't know who Simone is, she is a great seer and reader. She is phenomenal. I first was introduced to Simone. Actually, I was a guest speaker in an EFI 101 class, and Simone happened to be in the class that day. So she reached out, and it's been an interesting relationship ever since. She's interviewed me twice, and now again, the tables have turned. I am here interviewing her today. So I have some questions for you. Ready to shake, rattle, and roll. So
Yeah.
So are you ready?
Yeah. This is different though.
Oh, because you're on the other side now, right?
Yeah, I'm really starting to feel the heat now.
So
Before I'm the person with the questions and I'm all relaxed and I put my foot up and I have my juice and I'm like, yeah, you're going on and now I'm like sweating.
well, yeah. Now I feel more relaxed because I'm the one who questions. So
Hmm.
hopefully I won't mess that up. I mean, but I've done some crazy things in my day. So let's start.
Hmm.
Let's see what we have here. Would you consider yourself clairvoyant, psychic, intuitive, or an empath?
Uh, I'll hold on to the intuitive one, simply because that that is what I use to do my readings, right? My intuition. Outside of that, I'm also a medium, whereas I have the ability to speak to those and pass on messages for those who have passed on. So a lot of times folks would schedule a reading with me because they want to connect with, a loved one who's passed on. So um, the clairvoyant one that most speaks to, folks with the third eye energy and the sixth chakra. I guess if I wanted to, I could claim that too. Um, the psychic folks, I don't even remember the psychic what they use like I guess a part of their intuition to or connect situations to events or objects or something like that. No, I'm not holding on to that one. An empath, where folks are able to feel people's moods and energy, I can hold on to a piece of that too. But I think when I really analyze my gift and think back to sessions with, folks who I speak to, it's more intuitive / medium, spiritualist. Yeah, I'll hold on. I'm not big on labels. So when I get asked these questions, I'm like, man, I'm the black woman who just rocking right now. But folks like to give you these little titles, and I just go.
So you were speaking about how you communicate with people's ancestors. Uh, do the ancestors of your clients speak to you other than when you're in a reading with them, or do you get messages sometimes from people, ancestors who are not even around you at the time?
Yeah, and that could be problematic too. I remember years ago, um, a Babalawan had warned me that I need to not communicate with the ancestors as often as I do because, well, one person told me they may think I'm one of them and try to snatch me up and take me to the other side. Yeah, because I speak to um, our ancestors the way I'm speaking to you now. Like I actually sit and we have a back and forth conversation. So, you know, sometimes when I'm doing a reading, the energy presents itself and I would describe what I'm seeing or repeat what I'm hearing, right? And then when the session is over, sometimes they want to hang out, they may want to have a smoke with me or a drink. And I'm like, I'm done for the day. Your person's got the information. So I do what I have to do to kind of, separate the energy.
Well, that's
Sometimes it may pop up later on and they may say, well, can you give this information, please, to so and so. So if I feel the need to, I would do it. Sometimes I say, I'm not going to pass on anything. No, that's done. Other times they bother me enough for me to say, okay, I'm going to do it. We're going to have the conversation.
so. This kind of ties into another question I had. As far as it says, do spirits speak to you, right? Do you actually
Mhm.
hear them in your head, see them, or both?
Wait, say that again. If they actually speak to me,
Do you actually just hear them, or do you see
uh,
them, or both?
both, both. And what I find too is that I get a lot of grandmothers who would come into readings, mostly grandmothers, grandfathers, and occasionally, if a parent has passed on, they will come as well. So sometimes I will feel them on my left shoulder. And most spiritualists will understand
Yeah.
what the whole energy of left means. So sometimes I will feel them on my left shoulder, and literally, as I'm reading the person, I may do this. What do you want to say? Like, what is, and the person's looking at me, what the heck? So I sometimes have to control that because it literally feels as if someone is there, you know? And I've had situations where they'll give me a tour of the home where they live, or they'll take me outside in the patio or in the backyard and show me certain things. So then I'm able to communicate that to my client. And I says, well, okay, they're giving me a tour of what, and I'm able to describe what I'm seeing. So then usually at that time, the tears start to fall and everybody gets all emotional. I sometimes get emotional, like, I can't believe this is actually happening. Because even after all these years, it is still a humbling experience, you know? So it's both, sometimes they actually pull up a seat. I can actually see them pulling up a chair and sitting down and they start to talk. Some of them don't say anything. They just sit there. They just want to have the connection. And the client may be asking a bunch of questions. And I'm like, they're not saying anything. They just want to hang out, you know? So, yeah, it's
So,
both.
so
Yeah.
how did you get started? When did you realize you had a gift?
Well, I was in my late to mid 20s. That's the first time this energy gift manifested. I can't remember. Well, no, there was this one time I was dating this guy and I dreamt that he was married. I come to find out he was. But besides that, um, I was in my late 20s. I was having a hard time with life. I just couldn't get my act together, and I went to a lady for reading.
Mm-hmm.
A Jamaican woman who's still currently my spiritual mother, and she said in the reading, she said, "You're just like me," and I'm like, "Just like you? What does that mean?" And she stretched her arms out and she said, "Look, my pores are opening up." So I was like, "Okay." So she invited me to attend her church. She has a spiritual Baptist church. If you're from the Caribbean, you will know what that is. Or if you have Caribbean parentage, but it's basically a mixture of a religion that is a mixture of Christianity and African spirituality. So I was going to her church, and it was nice, the drumming, the manifestation, the incense, the whole 9 yards. And my life was still going downhill. So I said to her, I says, I think I'm going to baptize. So I figured baptism for them was like, excuse me, you go to the ocean, they drop you in the water 3 times and you come on out. It's like, okay, so I'm going to do that. Lo and behold, I showed up the Sunday. I was asked to remove my shoes and my earrings and whatever jewelry I was wearing. And they put me in front of the altar, and basically I was going through like a meditation thing. It's all biblical, of course, but I won't get into that. And I had my hands outstretched like this, and going back and forth, giving and taking, right? I'm making a decision, if you really want to go through this or not. So I'm going through that. It's summertime. It's hot as hell. I'm miserable. And I'm like, why am I putting myself through this nonsense? I want to get out of here. So I'm being a typical spoiled, woman at that time. And all of a sudden, my body just snapped a bit. And this vision of my maternal grandmother showed up. And she said, it's about time. And I was a mess. I started screaming and crying because this woman was like God to me, my grandmother, right? And she started to talk and complain about the family, and I'm there just in shock. And she's talking, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I can actually hear you and you're responding to me. Like, what is going on? And then she left, and there were like a long line, like this is in my vision, of course.
Yes.
A long line of people waiting to talk to me. And some of them I knew and I was like, but you're dead, And they just started talking and talking. And I'm like, but y'all are dead. And then I started to read. Obviously, this is a new experience for me. So then I started to read the leader of the church, the people at the door, the people in the congregation. I was just talking. And then eventually they had to come and do something to me. And then I stopped talking, but then I started back. So it was and since then, I talk to the dead.
Wow.
It's humbling, huh?
Which the dead is really alive, just on another side.
Alive.
Well,
on another, yeah.
And it was your grandmother that came to you during this ceremony, this baptism. This is the Shango Baptist. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for better. Although they don't call spiritual Baptists, some of them don't necessarily call on the Orishas. Some do, but this particular church, she doesn't.
Okay. So you as your grandmother. So how does your family? Is your family receptive to this gift?
No. Well, my mother is aware I have something.
Okay.
Because we had a situation where a friend of ours, a family friend, her son got arrested, held for being associated with folks he should not be associated with. And I told my mom, I said that his brother-in-law came to me who had passed on. I can't give too much of how he did, because then everybody would know who he is. But and the brother-in-law came to me and said that he needs to watch his company, and he needs to all these like 3 or 4 things. So I told my mom, I says, well, so-and-so said he needs to do this, 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 and that. So my mother dismissed me and said, well, you eat too much before you went sleep, or that's foolishness. So then she came back to me and she said she spoke to her friend, and the lawyer said he needs to do this, 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 and this. And it is the exact thing I told my mom. So from that, we don't talk about my gift. she's uncomfortable with some of the things that I have to do to take care of my gift and to maintain myself and da, da, da. So there is this conversation in my family that I'm into this thing, and Obia and the devil worship and da 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 da. And I just leave them with that, because at the end of the day, this is what is serving me. This is what is serving my life,
Yeah.
And this is what is sustaining me. I mean, I love my family to death. Even since I came up, some of my cousins have, kind of flexed with me on the low and said, well, Simone, I deal with cards. Or Simone, I have these visions. So everybody's now like kind of coming out of the closet. But to answer your question, no.
Mm.
No.
Well, I think quite a few of us who are deep into spirituality that's not part of the traditional status quo, many families don't approve or don't understand what we're into. So that's understandable.
Yeah.
You said something about this is your gift, basically, is sustaining you. This is who you are. This is what you do. But what did Simone Arthur do before she started doing this full time? What profession would you be doing if you weren't doing this?
Excuse me. I would probably be in event planning.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. In my last job, I was doing marketing, but part of it was planning events. I've always dreamed of having a costume band for crop over in Barbados. I tried it twice and it did not manifest, which brought me to have to start reading. But it's still a dream of mine. But I still have to clean up some stuff from two failed business ventures. So I'm in the process of doing that. But and funny enough, I have a degree in television and radio production. So I was trained like eons ago with this thing, but it just seems as if spirituality had me, or the ancestors had me marked for this. Because I never was able to find a job in that field. Never. I've interviewed with 60 Minutes, and the job I was going for, the guy decided he was coming back for the job. So that was it. I was so excited. The lady was like, if you don't come back, Simone, we're hiring you. That didn't happen. I interviewed and I got accepted for a program with the Today Show at NBC. And then anthrax happened. So they shut down the program. I interviewed at CNN. They got back to me like 2 months late. I went back to Barbados frustrated. So it was all these opportunities, like at these big media houses, and they saw my talent and they saw my drive and my ambition, but each time the door would close. And then I would just get these jobs that I knew nothing about, and the pay sucks. And I guess looking back is like, that was what was supposed to happen, because if I got myself tied up in a big career and all sorts of things, it would be harder for me to do what I'm doing, to leave that and do what I'm doing now. But there were so many closed doors in my life, and a lot of heartache too for it. Huh? Like a lot of tears, a lot of depression. But look, hindsight is 2020. You're looking back now and you're like, well, these folks had another plans for you. You just didn't see it yet, but they knew what they had in store.
Yeah, I most definitely understand that. This is your purpose, it's your destiny. So utilizing those skills that you were trained in on the university level right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're
right now.
You're natural with it.
Yeah.
So that's excellent. Would you say that you have this gift, but would you say that other people can develop this gift if it doesn't seem like it comes naturally? Do you believe people can develop the gift that you have?
Um, no, not from where I No, you either got it or you don't. I mean, you can do the tarot cards. I don't do tarot cards. I tell people I don't get into any spiritual practice unless the ancestors come and say, this is what you have to do, right? And that's how we got connected because I was told by them, look into numerology, right? And so then I was like, well, I don't know no numerologist. Like, where am I going to find this thing? And then the Orisha class came up. Then you were in the class, and then you say you taught these classes. And then I looked on my left again. I was like, oh, that's what you do. When we're in the middle of the class, excuse me, when you came on to say you're doing this numerology thing, and that you have classes, I looked to my left and said, oh, there's like ding, 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 ding. So, you know, from where I stand, no. I mean, you can pick up other things. You can do the tarot cards but no.
So,
No.
I would push back a little and say that people have, if they understand um, different methodologies. When I say methodologies, I'm speaking of tarot cards or divination, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain techniques, exercises that one can do to strengthen their intuition. They may
Mm-hmm.
develop the gift on the level that you have, but they can definitely strengthen their intuition and develop themselves to the point where they can learn to trust their inner feelings, their gut, their intuition. Most.
Yeah, I would take that. Yeah, I would take that. I guess for me, um, because of what I've went through in accepting this gift, excuse me, and I'm not saying the challenges that I've been through is like me, Simone, and another person, like we're in this relationship, and it's we got to get to know each other. There's no divorce option, you know, or a separation. Although I've cried many nights and be like, listen, just give this to somebody else. This is too much because, and seeing me here, I mean, it's been a ride. It's been a ride. I get visions and rituals, and I'm like, well, what does this mean? And they will explain, well, we need you to do this, 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 and this is what this means. This is what. So I get what you're saying. Folks can do exercises to strengthen their intuition, but and I take that. But the level that I am on, which I know a lot of folks are on the same level as well. It's no joke. It's not a walk in the park. It's not.
It's very. It could. Do you lose a lot of sleep at night sometimes?
Yes, I have. I have to do things in my environment and to myself in order to maintain sanity. Is that what I should say?
Yeah.
Or normalcy. Normalcy. Because I will be up all night and sometimes when that happens is either they want to talk about something I don't want to talk about, or they want me to do something I don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? So it could be they want me to give a message to a person who I don't want to be bothered with. I don't want to talk to. So when that happens, they would not allow me to sleep. You know, I'm good during the day, but at night I'm a zombie. And sometimes before I used to be able to negotiate with them. So you give me this apartment, I'll do this for you. And that was our relationship for a while. But then they were like, no, this bartering thing and back and forth, we're not dealing with you and that shit anymore. You're gonna do what you're supposed to do.
Do you ever regret opening yourself up?
No, no, I don't. Um, I've been, had this gift in the closet for so long. And it was just becoming uncomfortable to maneuver around it, right? And then my reluctance to fully embrace it started to become embarrassing, because I was able to, like, if my friends come to me and say, well, Simone, what should I do? Should I do da 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 da? And I would tell them, what they should do, and whatever they're looking for, they're successful at. And then for me, my stuff was not successful. Like everything was just falling apart, and relationships was falling apart. So, no regrets.
Are you affiliated with any particular religion or any particular faith?
Not yet. I'm working on it. I'm not going to get into the direction that I'm going. But I was told years ago who the person is going to be to lead my next step, right? So I found them. So we're working on my next step. And it's so funny because even with my spiritual mother, I believed I was sent to her, for her to guide me in the beginning stages, right? So then there came a time whereas I was not in that space anymore. And so I recognized I was going another direction. She recognized it too. I mean, she was like, listen, you are who you are. It's clear you got a lot of stuff up in there going on. And so, yeah, the next step is fastly approaching. And I'll talk about it when that part is over. I don't want to talk about that, which I know you is not going to ask me anyhow, but yeah.
Okay. When you do readings, how do you know what you're allowed to tell the individual and what you're not allowed to tell the individual?
Based on what I think they are ready for. One time I had a situation where there was a death, right? The person was murdered, and the person who was killed showed up, and the client was asking questions about what happened, that the murder, and the person who was on the other side, the ancestor, was like, I don't want to talk about that. And I had to tell this person they don't want to discuss what happened. They don't want to discuss what happened that night. They don't want to discuss who you think may have caused the murder. They don't want to discuss any of that. They just want to focus on here and now. I want you to focus on here and now. And that was a very hard thing to deliver, because the person is looking for answers about what happened to their loved one and who was responsible, because they want to get the person who's responsible. But the loved one is like, nah, let me move on from that. So in cases like that, I'm always honest with what I hear, see, and feel. If I don't see nothing, I'm not going to pretend I see something. I don't lie. I just, very mindful of how I present things. And if I think it is something that the person can't handle, I wouldn't let them know that it was communicated to me.
Okay.
So there's no lying. I've had people come back and say, Simone, I just know you had more information. And because when that person leaves me, I don't know what state of mind they're going to be in with that particular information. And sometimes our ancestors take stuff with them, the pain, the hurt. Let's let it go, you know? So depend on who I'm dealing with, then I decide, you know, what I'm gonna say or not say.
Well, with that, have you had anyone who wasn't satisfied with a reading?
They wouldn't say, but spirit would tell me she's not happy with what you told her. And that happened a few months ago actually. I was talking about this yesterday or something like that. The person was not happy with what I was telling them. And and she left the session, and I knew she was like upset, like really, like I could just tell, like, this woman telling me this BS. So I felt back in that time in the beginning, I would always do a follow-up call, right? I don't do that anymore. My reading has become more intense. And she did not pick up the phone, or no, I texted her and she didn't respond to the text. So I left her alone, but my mind always crossed her. And then out of the blue, like months later, she booked another session. I was like, oh my God. She didn't think I remembered her. She's like, where have you been? I've been worried about you. I followed up with you. She's like, Simone, we got to talk. And she went to someone else for a reading. But another situation. And the reading didn't even deal with that. The reading dealt with everything that I told her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's why she called me back. She's like, Simone, I went there for A. I swear that you was just there repeating everything that was being said. And you get that when you are telling folks they need to deal with stuff inside.
Yeah.
They need to deal with the trauma. They need to face the person who hurt them. They need to face that pain. They need to deal with, excuse my language, their shit. Right?
Right.
And I know what that is, because it ain't every day I want to get up and deal with my own stuff sometimes. And I may put it on delay.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people I don't do magic. You know, what I'm telling you is what I see, feel, hear. I'm telling you the truth that I am seeing and feeling. And then we're going to work on what you have to do next for your own self to get connected, you know, to and deal with what is going on inside of you. Whether it is issues with your parents, issue with your children, your husband, your baby daddy, your lover, you know. So usually when you're putting up a mirror in front of folks, they're like, would you get away from me, you know? But I understand that because I've been there a few times.
Wow. So that kind of leads into my next question. Do you know your life plan the same way you can read others?
Somewhat, some of it. Well, should I be saying yes, because you know you did my numerology chart.
Hey, that's just speak.
Yeah. I do. I have some of it though. Long term, yes.
Yeah.
The short term, immediate stuff. I always tell people God and the ancestors and the Orisha knows their child. They know their daughter. They know me. So sometimes they have to give me stuff in doses. And they make me wait.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are certain things I deem as an emergency for me right now, you know, that I need taken care of. And they're like, we got you, we hear you, but you gotta wait. So that positions me then to have to work on my patience. Because I'm a spiritualist. This is what I'm doing. This is the gift I have. And they've given me rules and stuff I need to follow, and a lot of it deals with being patient.
Now, when you say, and I know people are like, why are you asking this question? But when you say they, who is they?
Mhm. My ancestors,
Your ancestors.
my spirituality, yeah. In some cases, the ancestors of others.
Okay.
I have a few ancestors that would not leave me, and they are connected to some of my friends,
Okay.
right? So when stuff is going down in my life, along with my blood ancestors, this lot they show up too. So it's like I have an army around me ready and waiting for the next move. Like I tell people, it's better for me to get upset with you than for me to go on my knees and call on my ancestors and lodge a complaint, right? So my ancestors and the ancestors of others who are good to me too,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah.
So that goes back to what I asked earlier. It's
Mhm.
your ancestors that are speaking to you and yet you hear. And every one of us have ancestors. And
Mhm.
it seems to me if you are a person that works with your ancestors and you are open to your ancestors, if you do the things that you should do, you should develop a better relationship with your ancestors, which would give you more insight or strengthen your intuition. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I guess, I was looking more in depth of what I'm going through, or what I have had to go through with what I have,
Yeah.
right? With some people still trying to figure out what it is. um, I'm grateful for individuals like yourself and the Baba that I'm under who don't question nothing that I get, see, hear, or feel because they know it's just coming from a place that is pretty intense. Back in the day, I had folks who just used to like drag me for the things that I was seeing. And the dragging stopped at times when I was able to describe rituals that I should have no knowledge about, stuff that is done behind closed doors, right?
Right.
So, yeah, and I encourage folks to decide how they are going to, or find a way in which they're going to connect, right? Because a lot of people tell you they want to connect, they want to get down, but they're not disciplined enough to do what needs to be done to get to that space. And that's why spiritualist people are people who read. That's why some of them make a lot of money because folks don't want to do the work on themselves. They want somebody else to do it. So they'll say, well, yeah, I'll do it. Just knock me three grand, 5 grand. And I've had folks come to me telling me that, oh, so and so put something on me, and the woman say I have to pay $7,000. I would sit there and be like, listen, I don't know as a spiritualist, but I don't see anything on you. But what you're feeling is you've not dealt with your trauma. Let's work on finding a therapist for you. So that's another thing that I do. If it comes up they need a therapist, I would tell them go into your insurance, right? That ain't gonna cost you $3,000 plus. Pick five, send them to me. I'll read them, and we'll decide. I'll tell you which talk to the spirit is connecting, right? So I even go that far because there's a lot of spiritualists too who do not believe in therapy. You find a spiritualist like that, run,
Exactly.
because that's bullshit. That's some straight up and down bullshit, right?
Exactly.
And yeah, because they're not going to come to and pay me my fee every week. Can't afford it. You have insurance with a therapist, and then you can follow up with me with the other spiritual stuff to help the therapist to keep things moving along. and to get you to a better space. I know when that dark energy or energy of doubt or fear reappears, you know what to do to handle that moment. You're not lost anymore, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% with that. Which leads me to my next question.
Uh-huh.
How do you guard yourself from so-called evil forces?
Well, I have my altar. I take baths. I do spiritual bath. Well, we call them, modern day call them spiritual baths. I call them bush baths. And what else do I do? I meditate. I take grounding when it's warm.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the park and, put my feet in the earth. I do a lot of walking in the sun when it's warm. I take in like that sun rays helps cleanses. Sometimes I smoke a cigar,
Mm.
And then the ancestors, they come to me and they would tell me, okay, you need to do this or you need to get this, right? So don't be surprised. Sometimes you may see me in a hardware store buying certain items, and then I have to do what they tell me to do to protect myself. But a lot of it is a lot of baths. Like I sell baths, I make baths. That's one of my services that I offer. But you have to have a reading with me first before you get a bath. You can't just come to me and say to me, well, Simone, can you give me a love bath? And I make it. No. I have to know who you are first and what you're dealing with before I create something for you to help you. Excuse me. And yes, I do love baths. I know there's this heavy stereotype energy about love bath because you think you're doing it to hold on to the man.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a love bath for yourself, right?
Right.
You can do a love bath to strengthen the energy in your family, or gift it to your children if there's like some turmoil in the home. Like it's a love bath, So yeah, those are and the stuff that I can say in public that I do.
That you can say in public, right? um, what advice would you give to a younger Simone? What what advice would you give to a younger Simone? In other words, uh, knowing what you know now, what would you have given? What advice would you have given yourself when you came up out of that baptism? Air.
Wow, that's a very emotional question, actually. Whew. I would tell Simone be patient with herself. Be patient with the process. Trust the process. Trust your intuition more. Trust that gut feeling more. Trust yourself. Trust the ancestors that they will have you covered. Use your discernment to connect with the right spiritual elder. Right? If it doesn't feel right, then it isn't. Yeah.
And what would you give? And I'm assuming it'd probably be the same advice. What would you give? What advice would you give to new people that are coming into a similar gift as yours?
Mm-hmm. Along with what I said, I'm also concerned about this new energy of romanticizing spirituality,
Okay.
especially among young women, you know. And I kind of blame my generation and the generation before for that, because we were telling our young girls, get your education, you know, pursue your career, get involved, you know, just be the pillar, get your own place, travel, get your own car. We did all we tell them to focus on these things, and they've done that part of the work, but we didn't talk about the self-love part, the part about what to do when you find yourself in your mid to late 30s, early 40s, and you're not married, you don't have children, you don't have that emotional piece we missed. So somewhere along the line, they picked up that, you know, if they connect spiritually, or because everybody's come and tell me, oh, I'm spiritual. I'm like, okay, you know, just romanticize anything because they burn a few incense, they light a few candles, and, you know, they hear 3 knocks at the door and believe that means something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there is work you have to put in, and time for that connection to happen. And sometimes the connection happens and you're so busy tied up in, you know, some guru on IG talking some nonsense that you miss the connection that they have for you. A lot of times I have to tell my clients, your ancestors are going to speak to you in a way they don't want anyone else to understand, because they don't want anyone to, you know what they're telling you. You have to spend time with yourself, time at your altar, to get to know them. It's like a relationship. You meet a man and you want to see what this man about and fall in love with him, and blah, you will spend every waking moment with him, then you can. If you're that confused. And that's a joke. But you have to put in that same energy with your spirituality. And, you know, sometimes I clash with the younger folks, especially younger women, about that. But, you know, as I've been told, because I sometimes like to coddle people, they have to burn to learn, you know? And that's when some of them get caught up too, because they go to somebody looking for magic. You know, so the person gonna tell them, like, here, do this and this can happen, but then the stuff is just short-lived. It lasts for a week, and you got to go back and have it be done.
They don't understand that the true magic is within themselves.
Within themselves.
Don't understand that. And so, yeah, they don't understand that God is within them.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yes.
There's nothing outside of themselves
Yes.
going to free them. The only thing that's going
Correct.
to free them is within themselves. And so that
Correct.
is the work. You know, you go to your altar, but you do your self-reflection. You know, go inside, deal with the trauma that you may be still suffering with from a little girl, from a little boy. Many times we have this trauma that we bring in from previous lives. So it's tough, but that is the work. That is the work.
Yeah,
That is the work.
that is the work. And some folks aren't ready for that conversation. Some folks, I literally feel that they can light a few incense, go to Botanica and pick up a few candles, blah blah blah. You know, I've had somebody told me they want to leave their job to pursue their dreams, right? I said, you can do that. You know, it can happen for you. Just know there are going to be some major changes.
Mm-hmm.
This fancy home you have, the nice car you have, how are you going to maintain that? That's going to be taken away from you. So if you're ready to, you know, hold in there with them through the rough times because you want to make this transition, so be it. But I was told, oh, it will be taken care of. I surrendered. I said, it's okay. You got to put in the work.
Exactly.
But, you know.
Question. How has what you do, your gift, how has that helped you during COVID-19?
Wow. Um, it forced me to listen more and listen more intently. You know, I just felt that some days I was like, wait, did I get the message? Because we all knew something was going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Both of us in tune knew something was coming down.
Right.
I'm not sure if we knew it was going to be this intense, and then all the other stuff coming around it, but we all knew something was going to happen. And I think at some point, I just became very like, oh, COVID, oh, Corona. Because for me, it just feels like this is goddamn karma too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Most
This is karma.
exactly.
So, and in the midst of the karma, it is you and I, individuals like you and I, spiritualists, healers, herbalists, psychic, whoever, is us who in the grind with this spirituality. We calm, because we knew something was coming. It was going to hit. So for me, I had to pull back a bit because some days I was like, I'm a little bit too calm here. And then you have to check yourself because when somebody's calling you in a panic,
Yeah.
you can't be like, what the hell are you freaking out? Were you in a relationship? It's like, you can't do that, right? So I had to pull back a bit and kind of like a little bit feed into the energy of, okay, some folks are feeling fear. Let me see what this is feeling like for them. So I would know how to communicate with them. You know what I'm saying? But even for me, some days I'm still in shock. I'm like, damn, Mother Nature, you really pulled out the stops here.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even take a minute to be like, I actually experienced a pandemic and a quarantine. The civil unrest, well, that's neither here nor there because, we go through the ups and downs with that. And then that's another beast by itself. But yeah, I literally had to take many steps back and not be too oblivious to it because, think, well, we knew something was coming, so much shit.
Yeah. I mean, I
You know?
have many times where I'm like, you don't see that? You don't see it? And people don't see what we see. And that's okay.
No,
That's okay. That's part of why we're here.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
um do you feel are you fulfilled? Do you feel satisfied, fulfilled in what you do?
Now I am. It took a while. Huh? Even when I started reading, and it only this me exposing my gift. I like to call it coming out the closet. And having this as what I do, it still took, and it's only been a year and change. It still took me a minute to get used to that this is what I'm doing. I still get nervous before reading. I still say, shit, suppose these folks don't come up and say that. What do you ask I gonna do?
Well, when you said
You know?
when you said it's only been a year, can you explain that to us? What do you mean by that?
That well, I have under what I do is called Readings by Simone. Right? So is everything is channeled basically through Instagram.
Hmm.
So when I decided to come out and really offer readings as part of what I do full time, like there's no job, right? This is it. And I was warned, I was told that too. The ancestors came to me and told me the last job I had was going to be it. I have to focus on my spirituality. And I was still trying to pursue other things and still telling them, okay, just let me do this first. And then when this is done, then we can move on to this. They're like, F no. Right? So that's why those two things failed. But I'm now, as the day as I've been growing in readings by Simone, and we are growing together, I'm becoming more comfortable with it.
Great.
Right? I'm not going to lie to you and say, because I don't do that either. I speak my truth. This is my journey. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or add any bullshit to it to make it seem all fairy tale and not. You know, I have the ability to do things that still floors me to this day. And I don't talk a lot about it because some people are not going to understand, even other spiritual people. And I even have some spiritualists who refuse to read me. I was like, come on, read me. What's going on today? They're like, They don't touch me. And I get upset sometimes, like, what the hell? Like, just say something. It's like, nope. But I guess their people are telling them to leave me alone, you know? But it's also, and some people will hear what I'm saying and be like, well, what kind of spiritualist she is, where she don't just accept, which I accept who I am, but there's still an energy of humility to understand that for the universe, for God, for the ancestors and the Orishas to lay this gift on you is, what is the word? I'm so humbled by it. They could have picked anybody else. You know how many people begging to read, trying all kinds of magic to read and connect on a different level, and I was just given this. So that energy of even just before reading, I start to feel a little like, but that's humility for me. And to know that I am not going to take them or this gift or who I am for granted anymore. You know, I tell people, don't put me on no pedestal. You know, because I still, you know, I'm still human.
Well, it has been a good hour. I would like.
Oh my God!
Yes.
We at 1 o'clock already?
Yes. So I think that's where we would leave it. But before we go, if someone wants to get a reading or a consultation from you or use any of your services, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, you can find me, excuse me, you can find me on Instagram, Readings by Simone. You can follow me there. You can book a reading via there. You can reach out to me in my DMs. I still respond to DMs.
And I'll
It's so
put information up on mine. So people.
yeah, I still respond to DMs. I'm also on YouTube, Readings by Simone, every Sunday, and this is technically the premiere of my Sunday show called Sacred Conversations. Excuse me. So you can find a replay of all of the shows that I've done on YouTube. And I'm also in the Clubhouse.
That's right.
Yeah, on the Readings by Simone, as you can, or Simone Arthur. So that's or you can email me at simonereadings@gmail.com. That's where you can find me.
All righty then. It's been a good hour. I'd like to thank you for coming on. As we said before, tables have been turned. Instead of you interviewing me, I'm interviewing you. I'll go ahead and take you up on your offer on the 31st of January. So I said it. I said it on live air. So I guess I have to make that commitment.
You know how many people are running me down? I just don't express to you some of the shit I get about things that I say I'm going to do and then it don't manifest. You know how many people are asking, Simone, when can we just have a sit down to understand what Orisha is? And not for nothing, I'm so much giving you props right now because you deserve it. There is a lot of folks in the practice do not want to speak about what this is, what Orisha is, what Ifa is. And it's not necessarily folks want to be initiated. They just want to know where they come from. So I'm not asking people to give out secrets. Don't tell me what happens in the initiation. Don't tell me what happens when you get scratched. I don't, you know, just explain to folks what this is and how we are connected to it. And there's one topic we have to talk about. And if it is, if someone could be connected to an Orisha deity, like how they connect to an ancestor. Because I know there's a big conversation that layman folk like me who's not initiated, and even if I get initiated, cannot connect directly with an Orisha. Isn't that a heavy topic going on now?
We will discuss.
Or period.
We will discuss that. Okay, we will discuss it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
It was.
And
It was most definitely a pleasure of mine to have the great Simone on my Instagram. Hey, you actually were very instrumental of me starting to come back out to the public. I had to go ahead.
Well, you know, if your people send you for me, and my people saying, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
We just play the roles.
Oh yeah.
All right. So thank you, and you have a good day. I'm about to hit the streets. It's my day off.
And I'd like to thank everybody that came out to hear me and Simone go back and forth about her magnificent gift that she has. And please give her a shout out. Go to her website, get a reading from her. She's wonderful. And I see you on the 31st.
31st, yes.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Take care, everyone.